So in parts of this video, I misspoke. Just a quick disclaimer. I attributed these quotes to Jeffrey Donaldson, but they're not from Donaldson. They're from Edwin Poots. I think I've spoken a bit about Donaldson a bit too much during the week. So yeah, I've kind of confused them a bit in my mind. But big disclaimer there. It's going to be at the start of the video that it was Edwin Poots that had given these quotes out, not Jeffrey Donaldson. So don't sue me, please. Anyways, on to the rest of the video. So in this segment, we're going to be continuing to talk about the situation in Northern Ireland, which is the DUP have refused to return to Stormont's power sharing, Stormont really, unless the Brexit protocol goes. So essentially they're calling for an end. Yeah, it's some of the things they say are very different. They want changes to the protocol, and now, they seem to be saying they want an end to the protocol in its entirety. So the DUP won't allow Northern Ireland's power sharing government to be revived unless the EU abandons its requirement for checks on British goods arriving here, the UK region's agricultural minister threatened on Monday. Essentially saying that if the Northern Ireland protocol doesn't end, then Stormont won't be able to reopen. Now, we've previously done a video talking about how the government want to change the rules around how the Stormont's power sharing works, so that even if there is no executive, Stormont can be able to still open and pass legislation. So the DUP's threat potentially being undermined by that same government that they want to be a part of so badly, the Westminster government, or the country they want to be a part of so badly, England. Someone in Europe needs to wake up to the reality that we are not doing this to assist the peace process. What? Saying we are not doing this to assist the peace process. Like, what? Do you want violence? Like, I thought you guys were doing this to protect the peace process. Like, what? That sentence doesn't make sense. A great start there, Poots. Poots told the Northern Ireland Assembly, referring to the Brexit trade protocol, the political element of the peace process has had a bomb put in it, and it hasn't been by terrorists. It's been done by the European Union. No, bro. It was done by the Westminster government, because they're the ones who came up with the idea of the protocol, voted on it, and implemented it. Like, this is not on the EU. This is on the Westminster government. Like, the DUP being so desperate to be a part of England, doesn't realise that it's England that has done this to them. The thing you want to be a part of is the thing that has betrayed you. Poots vowed to fight a Belfast High Court interim judgment blocking his order to agriculture inspectors to stop EU-required checks at the ports, which is ironic. These guys talk about British courts and British laws, and the EU shouldn't be the final arbiter of the the ECJ shouldn't be the final arbiter of the Northern Ireland Protocol if it goes to court. And then once, a Belfast court gets involved, a British court, gets involved, they're like, oh, how dare they? We're going to fight this as best we can. Like, this guy's a joker. While Northern Ireland's current Attorney General has advised Poots his commands are illegal, he's relying on contrary advice from the previous AG, John Larkin, who now represents unionist clients trying to torpedo the protocol. I mean, this is easy money for John Larkin if that's what he's after, but it is a bit crazy how he's gone to the previous AG for advice when the current Attorney General is saying what you're doing is wrong, is illegal. Poots warned that unless the EU met their demands, oh mate, you're threatening the EU, big man, big man. The DUP would use their position as the largest pro-British party to veto any reformation of a Northern Ireland executive on the other side of an assembly election. The thing is, I don't know how much of a say they're going to get in that if Westminster's the one that does the reform. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, really. The current five-party executive can no longer meet or take critical decisions following the DUP's withdrawal from the top power-sharing post. The executive essentially has collapsed because of the actions of the DUP, and the rest of Stormont could collapse as well. But the government, the British government, the Westminster government, are looking at ways to kind of resolve that via a new law. The Assembly is expected to stage extra sitting days and late-night sessions to enact most of the 28 bills pending in its tray before the government dissolves the legislature for the planned May 5th vote. And the thing is, right, if the DUP care so much about the people of Northern Ireland, why are they trying to collapse their democratic representation, essentially? Because if Poots continues to try to undermine Stormont, which he will do post-election by the looks of things, how does that show he cares about the people of Northern Ireland if he's going to continue to destroy their legislative process? The closest thing that they have to direct democracy, an assembly on their doorstep. Poots is undermining that for a parliament that isn't even on the same landmass as them. There won't be an executive to come back to while these checks exist, said Poots, who's used his position as agricultural minister to block recruitment of veterinary inspectors and the building of permanent border posts in Belfast and Larne. And there was an EU audit recently that said that the Northern Ireland kind of checks suffer from a lack of staff and facilities, funding essentially. And Edwin Poots, by the looks of it, has been fundamental in stopping that. As a result, according to a recently published EU audit, port staff are conducting checks inconsistently and often inaccurately. There's the audit we mentioned. Poots said ports couldn't possibly handle the larger volume of paperwork and physical checks required if British government grace periods repeatedly extended since March ever end. Isn't it ironic that the man who has refused to actually help, refused to fund the protocol properly, refused to put the infrastructure and the staff in place, is saying, oh, well, if the grace periods end, we're going to be in real trouble, aren't we? It's like, big man, why did you not put the facilities in place then? Because you don't want the protocol to work, do you? Not really. This man, imagine undermining something and then moaning it doesn't work. That's some Tory mentality right there. Maybe this man should be a part of the Conservative Party. He predicted that EU authorities would require Northern Ireland's cars and suitcases to be searched for contraband goods when they travelled back from holiday in Britain. Again, A, we don't actually know if that's true, and B, that's one of the things where you can, if you stayed in Stormont, these are one of the things you could actually talk to the EU about. I'm sure Šefčovič would be fairly generous in these sorts of terms when it comes to these things. I very much doubt if you spoke to Šefčovič one-to-one, he would say, this has to happen. So again, have you spoken to anyone in the EU about this thing, this hypothetical thing you are talking about? Probably not. People have not seen the implications of the protocol yet because there's so little of it being implemented at that stage. Can you imagine this man saying, oh, the Northern Ireland protocol is horrendous, but there's only so much of it being implemented. That's why people have not seen how bad it is. Jesus. He goes, were the grace periods to go and we were to carry out all the checks that the EU are expecting us to carry out, the problems would arise at our ports are inconceivable. And the thing is, that's where communication with the EU comes in. That's why the EU have pushed for more border facilities and more staff at these ports in order to help the checks go through smoothly. You're the one who's undermined it, big man. So again, it beggars belief that this man is, fundamentally undermining the the facilities in Northern Ireland, and then saying, oh, they would never work properly, and then being the one to stop them from working properly. It's ridiculous. If you said, look, we're building these ports and we're going to hire this amount of staff, say by 2025, can you give us until that kind of time to deal with that? I doubt the EU would say no if they can see tangible things coming in. The only problem is that Australian beef. That's going to be a real problem. Poots belittled the European Commission's October proposals to streamline and prune protocol rules as inadequate, particularly its pledge to pass European legislation allowing medicines regulated in Britain and not the EU to be shipped to Northern Ireland. I mean, it's fairly generous that they're allowing medicines not regulated regulated inside their single market for and customs union for goods to be allowed into part of their single market and customs union for goods. I think that's fairly generous. He goes, we hear a lot. Weren't the European Union so generous in their deal on medicines that they allow people suffering from cancer to get generic medicines to come into Northern Ireland to treat those cancer and other illnesses? That's why they've, in normal ways, they wouldn't have stopped it. If we were going to export those medicines to France, it'd be a no-go. But they're allowing it into Northern Ireland. Is that fairly generous? Yes. Because I'd be amazed if you couldn't get some of these generic drugs from other EU countries. I'd be amazed if you couldn't. Britain isn't a pharmaceutical superpower. We import a lot of medicines. So yes, I think that's a fairly generous offer. I'm saying, oh, how generous of the EU for them to allow us to get medicines so people don't suffer from cancer as badly. Yes, it's a fairly generous offer. Because I don't think that's generous. I think it's downright arrogant to deny people medicines. If that's the case, surely you should have brought that to the attention of the British government whilst they were negotiating the protocol, no? He goes, I think it's downright arrogant to deny people medicines. And, doesn't that show that the EU aren't that arrogant then, if they've allowed it to happen? This guy's funny. So yeah, sorry, I've misattributed some quotes there. That's my bad there. It was Edwin Poots that said these things, not Jeffrey Donaldson. Whoops. I'll put in a disclaimer at some point in this video. But yeah, Yeah, so what more can you say? It's my mistake. I misspoke there. It was Edwin Poots that gave these quotes, not Jeffrey Donaldson. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. And support the channel on Patreon if you can.